Rooms and kind of separate them a little bit. So we'll be seeing Lucky. Now, if Tasha wants to show up on the tour, we may get a chance to see her again, and we also might get to see Holly, the other female, as well. So you may get to see more bears, but we'll for sure get to see Lucky. When we get out there, please do not cross our orange safety line, but usually doesn't end well for your pants. So we measured the bear's reach, we added a foot or two, that's where we put the line. All right, so just make sure you stay on the opposite side of the fence.
Looks like we have just about everyone, so as you keep coming out, feel free again to head right up to that orange line and say, yeah. Now I know what you're thinking, so what? There's no peanuts in Minnesota. You're right, there is no wild peanuts, but we do have lots of other nuts that do require shelling or cracking, such as walnuts, raisins, through that diaspora. Use our rather apprehensive lips to squeeze tightly against it and strip it completely clean. It's a very effective way of foraging, and not to be rude to Tasha or any black bear, but they are kind of lazy. All right, whatever a black bear is going to go for is typically dictated by the ease it is to get it. And so they'll usually go after the easiest food item they can find, which unfortunately does mean sometimes they will go after our food. They can pose some issues for humans. Any questions so far about black bears or Tasha specific?
Yeah.
Good question. So of the 10% animal protein, what makes that up? So bird eggs is one. In this area, they also go after fawns for about the first week or so when they're born. They will go after deer fawn. Most fawns.
Витя. Витя.
So our bears are no exception to that soaking wet. Tasha and Molly are our smallest bears, and they're both over 300 pounds. So it's not like I could grab by the scruff and pull them around where I wanted to anyways. But if we could, we wouldn't. And so Lucky is going to decide to grace us with his presence. And again, we will get him all the way down to pen 3 over there. So feel free to spread out that way. He's going to start with the food on the fence here, and then we'll get him down there as well so everyone gets to see him. Now notice right away, he's much bigger than Tasha. He's about 440 pounds at the moment. It's a higher. 460, sorry. I must have missed the last weigh day. And so he's still got some poundage to put on. So as I was saying, he will be about 500 pounds at the end of his year. The highest we've ever had Lucky was about 515, 520. And so again, he does a little bit of his own weight control. But as mentioned before, again, all the bears you're going to see today, they're generally bigger than what you'd expect to see in the wild. Now that's not to say they can't exceed the weights that I just mentioned in the wild. In fact, the recognized bears do. Lucky here, again, he never has a hard food year. He doesn't have to deal with competition. And so they do a little bit better here. Plus, if there's an injury or something, obviously he has veterinary care as well. And so for a multitude of reasons, they just tend to get a little bigger in captivity. Now, they say the leanest of bears can run about 30 miles per hour. I know for a fact none of them are running 30 miles per hour here at the Bear Center. They're just a little bit too big for that. Any other questions so far? Where's Lucky from? Great question. So unfortunately, Lucky's from Wisconsin, meaning he's a Packers fan. That is what it is. We'll deal with him. But he was actually found wandering the streets of Madison, Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin actually has more wild bears than Minnesota does, about the same age as the gentleman that found Tasha, at about 5 or 6 months old. At first, they said, nobody touch him. His mom's around. She'll come get him. And then about a week of wandering the streets, they figured something must have happened, and they weren't really sure. And so the fact that he's this old and doesn't have any of that on his body is quite unusual. Usually in the wild you will notice some of that. Scratch. It's way in the back of the habitat, and so we allow them to choose. Lucky, since he's been here, he's never not used one of the ones that we provide. And so he's always used one of the human-made ones. Both females, they'll have in the past dug their, if they want to mate, which they desperately do, that's really their only goal. They have to appeal to the better nature of that female and be chosen by her to mate, because that's how it works in the bear world, and that's what we call that. If we compare that, let's say, to deer or elk, usually the biggest, baddest bull, if it's an elk in town, gets all the females to follow them, and we call that a harem. That's a patriarch. Even though the males fight, they're not fighting for rights to breed, they're fighting to show off that they have good genes. And so some female bears will watch a fight go on and they'll pick a loser. They might pick one that's not fighting.
Какие красивые медведи, да?
Да.
Такой вместо пенечки моторхом. Дочь, что ты засняла? Вот так отдыхает, и медведь пришел. И... Как образовательный центр. Это Таша, да? А,
Он сейчас на весах.
на весах. Ну так вот, 245 паунтов.
Хотя вот сейчас он 300. Пап, сейчас он 300. 350.
Ну, сейчас уже 350. Взвесили. О, глянь, зубы какие. Это самый большой образовательный центр. Этот человек 50 лет занимался изучением медведей. Под микроскопом, как видно. Ух ты, перья какие красивые. Это волосы медведя. Понравился тебе музей?